Hello and welcome to City Beat. I'm your host Greg from the Lewiston City Library. Joining me today is Officer Jeff Klone from the Lewiston Police Department. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about kind of how to become a police officer, what it takes to become a police officer, and kind of the training and steps involved in going through that process.
Right.
So I would like to turn it over to you and just kind of let us know what is involved. How do you go about going from being a regular citizen to a police officer?
It's a fairly lengthy process, but there's good reasons for it. Really, the first step is just applying. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know if I want to do it. Should I? And I encourage anybody, if you're even slightly interested, just fill out a City of Lewiston application. It's online. Put entry-level police officer for the position, and it comes to me. And when we do testing, especially for entry-level testing, which means someone who has no police experience, I keep those on file, even if it's several months, and I'll call them up, hey, are you still interested? And we can start the process from there.
That sounds great. And so what is the process? What happens?
The process kind of, it's very standardized. It's not the good old boy system, hey, this is my cousin, can you get him a job anymore? That doesn't work, and you don't get qualified applicants. So you basically, once you start that application, we have you come in for a written test. We'll schedule a written test for a group of people. It involves pretty basic stuff, math, English, grammar, things we need to know that you have a basic education so you can write reports and understand things that you're going to come in contact with. You do have to get a minimum score on the written test. After that, then normally we do what's called the PRT, the Physical Readiness Test, and we follow post guidelines. And when I say post, that's Idaho Police Officer Standards and Training. And they have a set 5 different agility tests that you have to do. The tests include you have to be able to jump 14 inches high. You have to do a certain number of push-ups. I believe it's 21 push-ups without stopping. You have to do at least 15 sit-ups in a minute. You have to do a 300-yard run or sprint in 77 seconds, and you have to do a 1.5-mile run in 17 minutes and 17 seconds or less. And all those are done right in that order. If you fail to pass one of those, you're done. So if someone is considering wanting to be a police officer, they do need to make sure they're starting to get in shape, because there is obviously physical activity being a police officer.
Definitely. And so a little bit before the show we were talking together. Are there some automatic disqualifiers for someone so that? There
is. To apply, you need to be at least 21 years of age. We say of good moral character. And what that means is you cannot have any felonies, because you cannot possess a firearm. You can have some misdemeanors on your history, but they have to be at least, most of the time, at least 3 to 5 years prior to applying. And if it involves DUI, I believe it's 3 years now. Post sometimes adjusts their things, but it's 3 to 5 years prior for any misdemeanors. And as far as drug usage, we don't expect perfection from people. So when we do it, Post has set a standard that if you have used marijuana in the last 3 years, even if it's legally, which since we border Washington, you cannot apply to be a police officer in this state. It's just, this is the way it is. And since we border Washington, it has become kind of a recruiting issue for us, because people are legally using marijuana there, but Iowa Post says you cannot use it in the last 3 years of any kind. As far as any other drugs, like higher end drugs like cocaine, ecstasy, things like that, it has to be 5 years prior. And it has to be just some usage, not transporting anything major. So those would be automatic disqualifiers. And I always encourage people, if you have something in your past and you're like, hey, with this, just give me a call and I'll be glad to discuss it with you. Well,
that's really nice. I also know you brought a PowerPoint today, and we can talk maybe about the recruitment process and
sure.
Whenever you want to.
Okay. Some of the Like I say, in the past, there was no set standards, and it is very standardized. We want to hire the best person, not because somebody knows somebody.
Absolutely. And me as a citizen, I want that same
Right,
thing.
that's what the citizens expect. We hire both what's called lateral and entry-level officers. Lateral officers is someone who's been a certified law enforcement officer somewhere for at least a year. They come in because there's benefits to that. We don't have to send them to the police academy. They've got some experience, and it's a little less training for us. If not, then we do entry-level testing, which is, like I say, just the regular citizen, but we've had great success with both, because we get people who haven't been hired because they haven't had a chance. So we get them hired. If you're an entry level, we send you to the academy if you pass all the testing and things like that. So, you know, our department has an excellent reputation in the area. Working for the city is fantastic. Great benefits, especially with the police department, because from sergeants on down, that we have the Fraternal Order of Police, so we have collective bargaining. So we bargain for our salary and benefits, which are fantastic. And the city also offers things like tuition assistance and things like that. So it's definitely a great organization to work for. As far as equipment and facilities, we have great equipment. We issue you everything you would need to start to be a police officer except for your boots. And you get $150 a year, probably as part of the contract to get that. So we give you your uniform, your vest, your gun, your badge, your taser, everything you would need to start, we furnish. You do not have to purchase any of that, which is pretty expensive if you have to purchase that on your own.
I can imagine.
So as far as I've talked about the lateral entry, our current salary has actually gone up because we just negotiated a new contract. And we are paid very well. The starting officer for an entry level is $45,000, just a little over $45,000 a year. And if you're a lateral, you actually start a little higher because of your experience. And I'm talking about police officers, but I'd also like to say that we have our own dispatch center, and we're always looking for good dispatchers as well, the people who have to answer the 911 calls and deal with that, and they have a tough job. And they started over $37,000 a year, same type minimum requirements, the drug usage and the good moral character, but we're always looking for them as well. So.
And then with the testing process, you touched on that a little bit, and then a little bit of preparing, but if you were hired, what does the training involve? What does that look like?
You bet. And if I can just go back for a second here, after the PRT, the physical readiness test, then you do an oral board. And that's where you basically sit down in front of 3 or 4 of sworn officers, and we ask you a lot of tough questions. Things like, why do you want to be a police officer? What have you done to prepare? What's in your past that could disqualify you? And all of that is put together in a packet we have a list, an eligibility list that will allow us to decide who we want to hire from everybody who has passed the written, passed the PRT, passed the oral board. We set that up, and then we decide who we're going to pick to give a conditional job offer to. It's called conditional because there's still a lot more that goes with it. I'll do the background. I do the recruiting and hiring and the background investigations here. Background investigation is pretty lengthy, and we talk to pretty much everybody you've ever worked for, known, look at things like your credit, look at things like any criminal acts, very in-depth. You also subjected to a polygraph test. We have you talk to a psychiatrist, do a psychological test. We do a medical test to make sure you're physically able to do it, and we use post standards. Those are online if anybody wants to look them up. And if you pass all of that, then you're given a final offer, and we send you to the police academy.
And where is the police academy located? It
is located in Southern Idaho in Meridian. It's a 10-week course, and it's a live-in. We send you down there for 10 weeks. We just actually got 2 entry-level officers back this past week who spent 10 weeks down there. They did very well, and now they go through the FTO program, which is it's another phase where they ride with senior officers who are trained in adult learning, how to make people learn, and how to facilitate that. And they go out every day, and they go out and learn to be a police officer, because it's one thing that I can tell you, okay, if there's a guy in this house and we have to go get him, here's what you want to do. I can draw it on a board. It's different when it's for real. Making a traffic stop. We've all seen it on TV. It seems pretty routine, but it's not, because a lot of bad things can happen. And they learn how to write reports, how to take care of evidence, how to photograph a crime scene. Anything you can think of as a police officer that they learn in the academy, now they do it for real. It's 16 weeks long. You ride with someone every day, and you are scored every day in 31 areas, from your ability to drive in normal conditions and running lights and sirens, dealing with citizens, report writing, evidence. All those areas are scored every day to make sure you're progressing and learning properly.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
and intense and a really good training versus.
It is.
There you go.
It's not the old days of here's some keys and go do it. And that's what the citizens expect. They expect when somebody comes to their door, and we do not let that person out on their own until we know that when you call and you want to make a report or need us, that they will get there and they can handle your call as needed. So it's definitely an intense program, but it gives us quality officers.
So let's take one small step back. We talked a little bit about the police academy. What is the academy like?
It is paramilitary. It is you live there in the dorms. Every day you get up early and you do some kind of physical test, whether it's running, lifting weights, anything like that. And then you go to class all day, and you lunch break, and then you have class at night sometimes. And it is emergency driving, it is firearms, it's a lot of arrest control, learning to interview people, everything like that. It's an intense process. It's not easy. Not everybody makes it through, and that's part of our hiring process, to make sure when I hire somebody and we give them that final offer that we believe that they have not only the physical abilities to pass, but also the mental capabilities to critically think, to think outside the box and think in a situation where, okay, this guy's doing something bad. I don't have time to get a book out and say, okay, how do I handle this?
Yeah.
We want somebody who can make good decisions on the fly, which is they start learning that in the academy, and then we hone that during the FTO program.
Well, that's great. And so recruitment kind of sounds like it's ongoing. People can apply at any time.
Correct. Yes. What we do is we used to put out an ad when we needed a person. But sometimes people are out of town, sometimes they don't see the flyer. So we've changed the way we do that. And like I say, if anybody is interested in being a dispatcher, a police officer, just fill out a City of Lewiston application. It's real simple. It's like 4 pages, very simple, and put entry-level police officer, entry-level dispatcher. It will come to me, and I keep those on file. I don't get rid of them. Even if they're 6, 8 months old, I will look that person up if we need someone to test, or if we have an opening, and hey, are you still interested? And if you are, we'll set up a test.
Well, that sounds great for everybody involved. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on briefly?
Just that the written test, the PRT, the oral board, look those up or talk to someone who maybe has been through them, or call me, and because it's not just something that you're instantly good at. Especially some people are very good public speakers, but it's tough to sit there in front of 3 or 4 officers who are grilling you about why should you be a police officer, why should you be a dispatcher, and why should we pick you over 30 or 40 other people. And you know, that's one nice thing with the internet. You can look up how to do police oral boards, what to be prepared for. Once again, the physical readiness test is on Idaho Post's website. Knowing that you can make that run in the time, knowing that, you know, I always lose a couple people in the written test. I always lose a couple people during the PRT. I lose people on the run. I sometimes lose them on the push-ups, and so you need to be prepared to be able to meet those minimum standards, because you only have to meet the minimum, but you have to meet the minimum on all 5. You can't pass 4 really well, and then as soon as you fail one of them, that's just the way the state works. You're disqualified. As far as the oral board, like I say, it's stressful. You're sitting there in front of people getting grilled about everything you've ever done and why you should be a police officer. But there's ways to prepare for that, because you're there to impress us. We put a lot of stock into that because, once again, you're representing the police department, you're representing the city, and we're not going to send somebody out that is not going to, you know, it's going to tarnish the badge. That's going to, you know, have a citizen saying, why did we hire this guy? He doesn't know how to do the job, because that's what they expect, and that's my job, and I take a lot of pride in what I do.
And as a citizen, I can say I really appreciate that.
Sure,
and the extra effort.
Yeah, it's just something that, we have such a great working relationship with this city and all the citizens, and they have an expectation that when the police show up, we're going to treat them right, that we're going to solve their problems, and that we do that to the best of our abilities, and we want to find the right people. I don't want somebody who has a lot of muscle, but he can't think, and everything is, well, I'm going to jump on this guy, because a lot of times being able to talk is the key to being a police officer. And so I'd rather have somebody who has the ability to talk and think on their feet than just somebody who's all muscle. But then again, I'd still need somebody who can physically, if somebody resists arrest or you have an intoxicated person, you have to be able to defend yourself, defend others, be able to, and you learn all that in the academy. We don't expect somebody to come in and know how to properly search a person. We don't expect that, but we expect you to be physically able to do that, and if that person does decide that they don't want to follow the rules, that you are physically able to use the tools that they give you to twist locks or taking them to the ground and handcuffing them properly, because that's what people expect. It only takes one bad police officer to paint everybody as that one, and we're all individuals, but we all wear blue. So we definitely want highly qualified, highly motivated individuals who are doing it more than just for the great pay and benefits, which we have, but we really want somebody who really wants to do this job, that has a passion for it.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you today, Officer Klone. I really appreciate you coming in today.
No problem.
There's a lot of great information out there. And on behalf of Officer Jeff Klone from the Lewiston Police Department and the rest of us here, we'll see you next time on City Beat.